All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Late morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And we are here for another round of This Week in Review, the show that gives you the rundown. If you have not been keeping track in the world of pop culture, entertainment, some of the things that have been going on, I'm not going to be alone in talking about, some of the tidbits that have happened this week. So I want to introduce, two of my co-hosts. That's right, I got two this week, y'all. So of course, I want to welcome back Spills. So let me bring him on. What's going
Yo,
on,
yo, yo.
Spills?
What's up, everybody? Hope you had a great week. We got a lot of new topics to talk about. We got a fresh new guest, so let's get it.
All right. And additionally, this week, because we have, a news story that I do want to really dig in on, and they are our resident hosts with all of our, our Trek news and all of our, Trek knowledge, a lot of our Trek knowledge. It is my pleasure to welcome on from Engaging with Picard, Mr. Josh Pritchard Jr. Let me bring him on. Josh, what's going on, man?
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, Brandon. Hello, Spiels. How y'all doing today?
How's it
All
going? How's it
good, all
going?
good. Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday to you guys out there. Hope you guys are doing good. But with that out of the way, let's dig in. I'm not going to waste any time. The first story that I want to get into is, and that another reason why I wanted to, have some, additional folks in today, and I wanted to get Josh's 2 cents in here is we learned this week in a story out of Hollywood Reporter that season 5 will indeed be the last season for Star Trek Discovery. So, Josh, you hear this news of of this series. I mean, we've covered it here on the show. I mean, there are other series that are going on as well. Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, among many others. But first out the gate, so to speak, was Discovery. Before we had those, so what are your thoughts on that? And yeah, if you could just share, your 2 cents of what you think of this news.
I approach it with very mixed feelings, Brandon. First of all, you're right. It was the first new Star Trek TV show we had gotten in more than a decade after the cancellation of Star Trek Enterprise. Um, it is a show that I think had a very difficult birth, um, mostly because, and I've pointed this out many times, was because of Les Moonves suing Paramount to get the licensing for Star Trek. Um, the lawsuit against the fan film Star Trek Axanar, which essentially they did take parts of to make the first season of Discovery. I think the fact that also because of the broken licensing agreements and everything, um, they were forced to change the look of key characters, i.e., the Klingons and others. Um, and I think that really it was a show that older fans like me had a harder time warming up to. I liked it because I thought the actors like Sonequa Martin Green, Doug Jones, and Anthony Rapp and Wilson Cruz and the rest of the gang were great. I think that they were great. I didn't think the writing was as consistent as it could have been. I think season 2 was a real hallmark season for the show. I think season 3 had some really good stuff. Season 4 was very mixed. Was not crazy about it, but I also think that we had, that you're kind of shaking your head and wonder. It's like, okay, why is season 5? It's only going to be a 10 episode season, so why is it being pushed all the way back to January 2024? Are they rewriting and reshooting things? I think that's very likely. That is what is going on right now to prepare it to be Discovery's final year. Um, but I have to tell you, we'll like it or hate it, and I did like it. Um, it is a relevant Star Trek show. I mean, it's the first Star Trek show that you have a African American female lead, which is just very rare in television or in movies and other places. So it was kind of a very big deal. Um, but also, like you said, yeah, it was the first out of the gate of new Trek. I mean, before it, it came, and then you had Picard, Lower Decks, Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, um, and that's how we got current Star Trek. Um, and also it has resonated with a large number of the LGBTQA community because you do have a gay married couple on the ship and you have a non-binary character as well. So I think it will be missed by a lot of fans. I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment, people wondering that. But honestly, 5 years in is kind of normal these days for most TV shows. Um, After you get to a certain point, after you get to the fifth year, people start talking, okay, contract renewals, and there's all these rumors going around. Paramount Plus is going to look to, okay, cut costs where they can, and so the first place you look at is, okay, do we really need to pay somebody like Sonequa Martin Green and Doug Jones and these actors this much money, or would we do better off ending it on a high note and then casting new Star Trek shows with new actors? I mean, that's what they did in the 90s. When they saw that, okay, we're getting close to 7 years on Next Generation and it's this top-rated show, and yes, Patrick Stewart and the rest of the cast could probably ask for a lot more money in their contract renewals, or do we move over and do we make new Star Trek shows with new casts, with actors that are less expensive, run them for 7 years, and then end it and create another show? Well, that's ultimately, of course, what they decided. And I don't know if that's what they've decided here with Discovery, because not only is Discovery ending in 2024, but this year, um, in a few weeks, Star Trek Picard is going to end. So and we do know from a few years ago, right before the pandemic, that Paramount Plus did want to kind of like wait until some Star Trek shows ended before they started working on new ones. Does that mean we're finally going to get the um, Georgia Section 31 show? Well, ask me again after next week, after the Oscars, okay? Let's just see, because I have a feeling Michelle Yeoh's asking price might go up if she wins the Oscar. It might not. It might not. There are, a lot of fan polls out there, but about what they would like to see the Star Trek show. But getting back to Discovery, we owe it as Trekkies a big debt, because yeah, it brought back TV. It's brought Star Trek back to smaller screens and back to the Prime universe from the JJ verse, or the Kelvin timeline, as it's sometimes called. So we owe it a debt of gratitude. And to be honest, there was a lot about it I really did enjoy. I had very mixed feelings, but I did enjoy the cast, and sometimes the writing was quite excellent. So, uh, Dylan, do you got any thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
have a
ahead,
few
Spill.
thoughts. So I'm a big fan of TV shows that end before they need to end, rather than after they should have ended long ago. Like I like how the English do their storylines, where they do just 3 or 4 seasons, and then they get off of that group, because it's only so many writing timelines you could write. I also think that it's I'm a part-time Trekkie, or a casual Trek fan, so I do know that, like, with the movies, they were never going to pay Zachary Quinto and all those people to do a TV show, and that was the opposite direction that every other Star Trek property has gone. Like, Star Trek property started as a TV show, then they make movies. This was a movie that they would have to make into a TV show, and that, just like you said, with the money issue, would be such a big hard ask for a lot of those actors, and working with those big time movie actors schedules. I've been interested in the show. I've seen things online about it. Maybe now that it's going away, I'll check it out a little bit more. Just like you said, it's been so long since there was a show on Star Trek. I think probably the last show that I really watched was Voyager, and that's almost 25 years ago now at this point. So, you know, it's good that they're trying to pursue these properties to keep them alive because so much good has come in our culture from Star Trek that you can't not have Star Trek on TV because it's just one of those things that promotes positive vibes and kind of helps people to look for a more positive future. I'm a kick it to Brandon because I'm sure he's got some great ideas about this too.
So, in listening to all you guys, I guess for me, it's just been an interesting journey, just in general, of how it all started. Like I said, with this show, this new era of Trek that we've been having has started with the show, and we've gotten, it is bared, so to speak, bared some great fruit in terms of other things that have come after it as a result. I love Lower Decks, and I would call myself a casual, Star Trek fan. But like, you have many of those shows that are, it doesn't matter how deep your fandom in Star Trek is. I feel like with a lot of the shows, which is a testament to those who have put together those shows, is that you don't have to be a hardcore Star Trek fan to enjoy a lot of the shows that are out there. I love Lower Decks, and I feel like even if you aren't a hardcore Trekkie, so to speak, you can still hop in on that show and still have a lot to enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong, if you really know your Trek, there's going to be a lot of stuff, Easter eggs in there that you're going to enjoy and that you're going to pick up on. And they plant that stuff in there for sure. But at least casually, you can still hop in on that show and still enjoy a lot of the humor that they have in that show regardless. But it is a deeper watch if you know a lot of the Easter eggs with a lot of with your Trek shows. So, you do have that balance there. I've enjoyed Strange New Worlds too. There've been a lot of episodes that have been in there. Now, I've watched it relatively infrequently, but at least the ones that I have watched, I've enjoyed a lot because they have delved into a lot of genre related tropes. I know, like the Gorn one, for example, I really enjoyed. I'm a horror guy. Me and Josh are both horror guys. I love my horror
Mhm.
movies. So, like, that it had a lot of elements that you would have in a horror movie, even though it was a Star Trek episode. So, there's been a lot. Even as Discovery is coming to a close, it's always great to go out on top and allow it to end without it becoming stale. I feel a lot of shows kind of rest on their laurels after season 5. I'm talking to you, Walking Dead.
Oh, don't get me started.
And I mean, there are other shows too that are guilty of this too. I don't want to pick on one show, but there are a lot of shows that I've watched where, like, past season 5, like, I'm like, okay, you should have just cut it right there. It's perfectly fine right there, and we don't need to continue on to kind of like wrap it up in a nice bow. So, it's a shame that the show is going, but I understand. And I mean, don't cry any of the cast or River, because I mean, all of them are busy and they're gonna go on and do other things, and they are in demand. Many of the actors that are in that ensemble are in demand, and I'm sure they're gonna go on to awesome stuff following this. So um it's a bummer to see it go, like I said, but at the same time, I do get it, and I wish everyone well that's involved with that show. And yeah, I mean, unless you guys have anything else to add, I feel like we can move on to our next story. Josh, you're more than welcome to stick around, but I know I really wanted to get you in to get your 2 cents in on this story. So if you do need to skedaddle or head
Yeah.
out, understand. Um, if you
Um,
do, I want to, give you an opportunity to plug, not only the show tomorrow, but your other stuff as well, man.
yeah. Um, I just like to say before I go, um, one last thing about Discovery, and Picard. I think that we might be coming to the end of Star Trek doing these season-long story arcs. Um, I know that I think with Star Trek it works better. Okay, we refer back to something, and I know that Voyager had the overarching story arc of, okay, we're the starship on the far side of the galaxy and we're trying to get home, and Deep Space Nine in the last 2.5 seasons had the Dominion War. but they still managed to do episode to episode things that people could just either jump into or just enjoy. And I think with the end of both Discovery and Picard, hopefully I don't think it really worked as well for them. And I think that maybe that might come to an end. It might be more storytelling like you see on Strange New Worlds and Prodigy and Lower Decks. I mean, again, Prodigy does have the overarching story arc, or did have it, of the crew trying to get to the Federation and escape from the bad guys. But they still managed to this first season have single standalone episodes, and I hope that's going to be the way to go. This is not, I'm not judging, I'm not, but I think Star Trek just works better with that, more of that format. But in closing, I just want to add, tomorrow, Chris Papone and I will be doing our show here on Movers and Shakers, engaging with Picard, where we will be talking about episode 3, which is titled 17 Seconds. And it was a terrific episode. So please, if you're watching this after this show is over, please go watch it, and then come watch our show tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. East Coast time. And of course, my book, Bigfoot and Other Tales of the Supernatural, is still on Amazon.com and Kindle. So, Brandon, thank you for having me on and letting me be the resident Trekkie guru. Spielman, it's a pleasure seeing you again, sir. And I hope
Always.
you guys have a great rest of the afternoon.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent,
Take care.
excellent. Thank you so much, Josh. Let Josh skedaddle. Appreciate you squeezing some time, Josh, on this Saturday. All
Oh
right,
yeah.
No
so
problem.
let's hop over into our next story. And this was a story that came out of the Academy. It was a story centered around RRR. Apparently, the song known as and I apologize if I'm butchering this, guy. So if you want to correct the pronunciation for me in the comments, feel free. So I'm apologizing ahead of time. But NAATU will be performed at the 85th Oscars. And as I said, it is a song from the film RRR, which is really making a push in terms of what they have been doing to kind of get that film going and get it in front of people. And it's really like it has some insane stuff. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Spillman, but it has some insane stuff that's happening in that film. We have guys that are like battling tigers and all these like insane type of action sequences at play. But I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's currently available, for those of you that are not aware. It's currently available on Netflix. Have you had a chance to see it yet, Spillman?
I haven't checked it out, but I've added it to my queue. It's going to be one of my, nice afternoon ones. These dudes look like they have, first of all, we got to big up these dudes' beards because, as a beardman myself, these are some handsome beards. And this is how we get ourselves going. They look very masculine and manly in the traditional sense, not roided up like, the Hollywood stars of today are. But they look like they actually are badass men. So I'm really interested in this one. We might have to spin the block on this one. Is this looks like it might be a Bollywood? Is this a Bollywood movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a
But no,
Bollywood
like I said,
type
if
joint.
anyone has had a
Yeah,
chance to check out like the trailer for it, like it's bonkers.
it's
Bonkers, a lot of stuff
bonkers.
that's happened. Bonkers in an awesome way. Bonkers, like
Yeah,
some of the stuff that happens in this film. Like I said, you literally have a sequence with a dude and a tiger like just clashing. And then some of the stuff that you would see in maybe like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like some of the like insane action sequences that are at play with gunplay, or I call it like gung fu, I guess you can say.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
like it's just wow, it's crazy. So I myself, it's actually one of the films that I need to check out because I know it's like, believe it or not, it's like 3 hours.
Oh, there you go.
But I'm planning on checking it out. this over the course of this weekend because I want to be prepped for next week. As you guys know, next week is the Oscars. So I don't know if you caught up on your film spill. I know there may be like one or two that I'm trying to squeeze in there. I want to catch before the show comes to us next week. So
I need to catch everything. What is it? Is it everything always? What is the name of that title with the crazy
I know,
name
yeah,
that
it's a tongue
they're
twister, but
saying
but
is
but we, we
they're
know
saying
what
it's
you're
supposed to be
talking
the one to
about. No,
win.
that
They're saying that's the
yeah,
one.
that
Yeah,
one is like that. That you got, yeah, that one's
I
awesome.
gotta see that one. What else is there, Buzz? I feel like
And I
because
have both
with the
of them winning,
pandemic
by
and
the way.
everything,
I have both of them winning the Oscar.
this
A good movie
NRRR.
in the role, and when it comes to award season, a lot of times, actresses, they have their year and they really have that momentum
Yeah,
going, and both of them, have great momentum going into the Oscars this year. So, and it'll be good to
yeah,
see them win. I mean, come on, short round winning an Oscar, that is awesome, man. That's
yeah. He
awesome.
needs to give
So,
him a shine. Give
for
him a shine for sure. Because I seen the even the interviews with Short Round where he was talking about how he felt like he was buried, and somebody picked up the phone and brought him back up to the limelight. Because I can imagine doing a property like Indiana Jones when you're like 13 or 14, however old he was, and then doing Goonies and then not doing anything for 30 years has to be humbling. Because just like your boy from the Cosby Show that was working at Trader Joe's, people still know your face. Like just like you see somebody you used to know in elementary school or something, and you see them in the line in the grocery store. It's the same thing. You still see that person like, yo, you look just like that dude from that thing that I've seen a million times that I love. But what happened to you? So, I'm happy to see that they're doing good. What other buzzworthy things? Most of the stuff I've seen this year is like I've seen two Marvel movies. I wanted to see that Harry Styles movie. Um, what is that? The like period piece. I wanted to see that one. But with the streaming and everything, it's so hard to know what are movies from this year and what are movies that you're getting to, because it's like, it used to be you go to a theater. I go to E Street Cinemas or something. E Street Cinemas is a local art house here in DC for our non-local listeners. But to catch some of the buzzworthy stuff that you really don't see at your traditional theaters, on top of going to your blockbusters like your Marvel movies or your Avatars or whatnot. But just focusing in on this Oscar season, getting ready for it. As a Lakers fan, this is a tough time of year for us because we had to get away from our home because the Oscars are in the Staples Center. So we got all these games that LeBron can't play in because he hurt himself. So I know we not talking about the sports, but I would still bring it back to my Lake show just because we might have a chance. But I just the Oscars are just a wonderful time. And hopefully one day me and Brandon will be there. We'll be doing our own movie, because, anything could be made into a movie right now. You could take something that,
yeah, y'all
you
want
made a
y'all
short.
don't want me to dig in on basketball because
That's it.
yeah, y'all want me to dig in on that. I'm
Let's
gonna leave
do
that alone. That's a
it.
whole other conversation, especially if you want to go Lakers and talking about LeBron and conveniently being injured. But I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. I'm
I mean, if you injured, you injured. He's not hurt.
this way,
He's
guys.
not hurt.
Because
There's a
yeah, I know because
difference.
these are fighting words, right?
That's right.
I'm gonna keep it tame. Is I'm just saying, and then we'll move on. I'm just saying that I'm sure you have tic tac injuries here and there over the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable. This is a long
Mm-hmm.
season, but because we don't know if we're gonna make it into the play-in, or we don't know if we're gonna make it, into the playoffs. We have a new narrative to say that, oh well, it didn't happen because I was injured, right? Right.
Oh no!
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. Okay.
Here we
All right.
go.
We'll move on. We'll
Here
move on.
we go.
We'll
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on.
This is a
We'll
movie
move on.
show. We talk about
We'll
movies
move
on
on.
this show.
All right. Yeah. So I feel like, hey man, we need to do like a separate show just on
We could do a separate show. We could do a separate
yeah,
show.
for
This is,
sure. We gonna leave it alone.
what movers and shakers
We
coming
keep it on topic.
coming new to you.
Keep it on
Just,
topic.
yeah. We could really talk about shakers.
For the sake of time, I want to hop into our final story. I know we want to actually talk about something else, but I'll save that. Should they have another trailer, we can hop into it. For another show. But I want to get into Mandalorian. I don't know if you had a chance to catch up on the episode spill.
Oh, of course.
I know you did. Okay,
Of
bet, bet,
course.
bet,
You know,
bet, bet.
I'm down with the
So,
Mandalorian. I'm a
I
single
had,
father. I know how it
what I
goes.
like about this episode is, and they set it up perfectly when it comes to trilogies just in general. Whenever we look at a trilogy, a lot of times, the second film, if we're thinking of a franchise, escalates something,
Mm-hmm.
from the original, and then the third film is about going back to your roots a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they've perfectly set that up based off of what transpired in the last season, with Mando and trying to, redeem himself, so to speak. So, I
Mm-hmm.
do like the fact that we kind of have that arc of him, getting back to what it means to be, a Mandalorian. So I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but it was good to see some old faces. I'm not going to spoil like who a lot of those people are. It was good to see some old faces, while it was also great to see the arc that they're going with him trying to get back to his roots of kind of coming full circle to who he is as as a character. I don't know what your thoughts are on it are.
I like how they set up this season. Obviously, the Mandalorian show as a whole has a callback to westerns and stuff. So obviously, this is an allegory for the natives and losing their land in the Wild Wild West and all that. So obviously, going to Mandalore is akin to going back to our homelands that have been snatched from us and are toxic, and we can't go back there. So that whole idea of going through things is great. If you watch the first two seasons, the Mandalorian is a bad MF, and he does what he does. He's tough. He's got the armor. He does everything he's supposed to do. It's got some illusions in there that make you think one thing, but then throws you in a whole nother thing, which is great for storytelling, where you think you know something, but actually you don't know what's going on. So it puts you in a different place, which I really liked. It did a lot of world building for where we're going with this, like who we're going to be dealing with in this season, like how things are going to work. So I like how they set it up. It was a great setup episode. I think that what is it? What is it? Favreau? How do you say that guy's name? The guy that wrote Iron Man.
John Favreau.
The guy that, yeah, John Favreau. Like he's a good story writer. I like how he writes stories, how he puts them together. I like what he did with Iron Man, what he did with that cooking show he had. He writes really good characters and character development. So I like what he's done with the Mandalorian universe, because he's kind of made the people in Star Wars seem more like people rather than like, if you're a fan of the YouTube critiques of Star Wars movies of past, they talk about like, this is clear that these people are aliens because they don't talk like people. But the characters in the Mandalorian have like reasons for why they do things, for why they're motivated by such. So, it's just interesting to me to see where they're going with it. And, this is the way.
Nah, for sure, man. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the arc continues going into the season. But I like I said, my main takeaways is it was cool to see some old faces. Even journeying back all the way back to the beginning when the show first started, and
Mm-hmm.
it's cool, even though it's a trope that we understand is normally what comes to when you have like a third season or a third installment of a franchise, a third chapter, if you will. It's always about going back to the beginning, so to speak. The way that they've done it, it doesn't feel forced. It feels pretty fluid in terms of like seamless of how they've done that. So I'll just be fascinated to see, how it continues and what else goes down in that journey of getting back to one's roots. So, but with that being said, spills. I want to thank you as always for hopping on and talking all these news bits with me. We will be back next week. Before I let you go, tell folks where they can find you.
Oh yes, you guys can find me on IG at Truly Spill. I'm there. You can find me. I post some things. Just make sure that when you see us, you comment on the live, and you also comment, like, share, and give us that 5-star review. Tell your friends about it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
And I was
all I
gonna say,
got.
don't be shy, guys, because I see y'all watching. Trust me, I can see folks are watching. But don't be shy. If y'all have something to say, comment about maybe a hot take that we have on something, because I know sometimes things get spicy here in terms of talking all types of topics and entertainment. Feel free to share your thoughts, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Um, just know also next week I want to tease that I will be at a con next week. We have Annapolis Comic Con happening next week. Shout out to Ben Penrod, showrunner Ben Penrod. I'll be out there next week. I'll be doing the show from Annapolis Comic Con next week. So there you go. And we may actually have an additional guest that you guys have seen on the show before. So I will, leave a little mystery there. But outside of that, again, I want to also thank Josh, who came up here at the top and squeezed some time out of his Saturday to talk Trek. Make sure you check out his show tomorrow at 11:30 when they talk about the new episode of Picard that aired this week. But other than that, I am your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Peace. Deuces.
Oh, with the Star Trek. With the Star Trek. That's right.